Alright, we've got the fake rock haunted house. Now if you're going to build this, you want to build it for your expert climbers. So pets like tarantulas or geckos, Vietnamese centipedes, anoles. You don't want to build this for a bearded dragon or a Eurymastix. Creatures that can scale up a wall are perfect for this, especially tarantulas, considering the theme of the haunted house. But this is built with the exact same techniques as everything else on the website. So everything is safety first and aesthetically pleasing second. So I did this in two pieces. You've got the little second floor of the house there, some stairs going up there, and all of the measurements for this project are on the website. You want to use a dust mask if you're going to do this. What I'm doing is measuring out how tall, how wide, and how deep I want the house to be. So like I say, the measurements are on the website, but it's all really according to what cage, what size cage this is going to go into, or just how big you want it to be when you're finished. So gluing this together with Loctite Power Grab, which is very similar to liquid nails. And really this project is just a whole bunch of rectangles. There's quite a few other projects on the website that incorporate more of an organic, realistic landscape look. So cutting away what will be a little trap door for if you're wanting to create a second floor to the house. And I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but I'm going to somehow glue this floor into the middle of that hollow box I've created. So I wanted to create this with a hollow base and a hollow top. It's a lot easier to grout and to paint and to seal if you do it that way. So filling in some gaps with more of that glue. I'm going to break off a piece to create a kind of a crude looking set of stairs. Nothing fancy, just for something a lizard or spider can get traction on. So you can see the base of it is hollow, so the base is really going to be whatever the cage is. I'm going to cut out the door and some of the windows, but you could leave the door intact and just paint it like a false door or false window. But if you want the creature to be able to enter in through the window, I'm going to cut that out. Here's a little mistake I made. I forgot to incorporate the front porch. So cutting out some smaller pieces to match how much taller that front porch ended up making the house be. So putting on the top of the front porch here. I've got a little post holding it up. And going to go ahead and try to create the roof. So you could create this in a much more simplistic way. I'm just gluing together a whole bunch of rectangles and cutting away some more smaller rectangles to try to create sort of a sloping look to the roof. So cutting it away here, the edges in sort of a 45-degree angle so that it will fit up against the top of the roof in a much more realistic way. So I've got that in place, again gluing it together with a Loctite. Made a little piece here for the base of the center tower decided to put a little center tower on the house. What you want to do is do a search on the internet for haunted houses for ideas on little details, such as the boarded up windows, or in this case the center tower. So used some old packing material for something I had bought for the top of the tower. It's got a little slope to it, and decided to cut out a side door for if you're going to put a creature in there. Here is the grouting process. You've got non-sanded white grout with mixed with water, and there's quite a bit of mixing that goes on with that. It took me a while to get this consistency, and it's sort of a thin pancake batter. So as you can see, it's not real watery, and you want to put at least 3 layers of this on, preferably 4. And what I do for the second layer is add a little bit of color. You can put a little bit of acrylic paint mixed in with the white grout. Just let you know where you've left off. So putting on the third layer, just going back to the white grout. There's no sense in putting any color, just so that it's different from the previous one. Here, what I've got, that's what I've coined the poor man's paint gun. You've got a dollar store water bottle. Put some water in there, some black and white paint. Mix it up, make sure it's thin enough to work its way through the water bottle. And going to go ahead and put a base coat of light gray. And like I say, the website has all of the materials. If you go to the Facts Frequently Asked Questions section, you can find them there. What I'm doing here is with a paintbrush, obviously, putting on some white, and as you can see, I didn't cover all of it. I let some of the gray show through, which helps get that sort of weathered, in need of a paint job look. Just putting on the roof color, got some dark brown. But most of the house is painted white. I did that because you can add the look of fake dirt to it much more easily because it stands out on white. Here what I'm doing is with a fat Sharpie black pen, putting on some siding, or at least the look of it, which will end up getting covered up quite a bit later on. But any type of detail, the more detail you can put into this, obviously the more realistic it's going to look. And that's just sort of an easy way, just using a ruler here. Optional stage, and another optional stage is just trying to put in some what looks like wear and tear, old, decrepit, the condemned look. So you can see there the gray bleeding through the white, sort of adding to the bad paint job, or the old paint job, I should say. So some of the windows are not hollow, obviously just putting in some false windows and false doors. And like I say, using the Sharpie pen here, you can use anything because you know later on you're just going to cover it up with a non-toxic sealant. So it doesn't really matter what you use. So, and this is what I like to call the dry brush technique. I've loaded the paint full of a dark gray and removed most of the paint on a paper towel. And it really works easily because of the texture of the grout will take off some of the paint and leave a little bit of the white behind. You can really see it here with the edges kind of treating the corners of the house more, just to give more of a natural weathered look to it. So you can see a lot of the white shining through just because of the texture that the grout left. So here I am getting rid of most of the paint to create that dry brush effect. And then go back up to the house and sort of the texture of the grout just kind of takes off what it wants. So it really it's kind of making it look as if you've put a lot more time into the detail. So I'm going to do this with the roof as well. You can really see it here with the fact that it's not pulling off much paint, even though I'm going all over the roof. You can't really see it that well in the video, but it's leaving behind little black specks, which are mimicking dirt and wear and tear. And you might think about putting in sort of a fake hole or two in the roof, just getting across more of the worn down, in need of a new roof look, holes here and there. So uneven, inconsistent look to the either paint job or roof. Here what I ended up doing for the boarded up windows was using balsa wood, but what I would probably recommend instead of balsa wood is using popsicle sticks. Just going to glue these together. What ended up happening with the balsa wood is created inadvertently quite a few splinters, but it did give a much more realistic look than the popsicle sticks would have. So just gluing the boards down here. And what I'm using here is sort of a thinned out brown acrylic paint to try to mimic the aged look to the boards, like they've been up there for a few decades. And an interesting little piece of detail is putting in some nails or strong bolts, as if that's what's holding up the boards. Then you got to seal it. I'm using a non-toxic acrylic sealer called Shields All. There is a link to it in the facts section on the website. So what I ended up doing was putting at least 4 layers of this on, letting at least 12 hours of drying time in between. Here I'm using Mod Podge. It's similar to Elmer's glue, a much more thick glue sealant to cover up those splinters. You definitely want to do that, especially if you have a lizard, anything living, or tarantula living in the house. Protect its feet. And sort of the last stage is putting on some of that same Shields All sealant. You could also use Mod Podge to seal this, but I'm using Shields All. And then sprinkling some non-toxic colored sand. I used Sandtastic, and which sort of counteracts the shiny look that the sealant leaves behind. Plus, it also gives the creature some traction to be able to climb up and around the house. What I'm doing here is applying some sealant. Because of the base and the roof are 2 separate pieces, I'm going to put some sand in between. With the sealant, when it dries, ends up being a little tacky and sticky. So you could probably get away with not doing this, but it's much easier to get the roof off if you've got that layer of sand there. And you want to brush away all the loose sand after you're done, and you've got a little haunted house. Now what you can also do is put some lights in it if you don't have a living creature in there, and if you've made the windows hollow. So there you have it, a fake rock haunted house. Happy Halloween.